Customer confused by simple math. So I work at a shoe store. We have a clearance section. The clearance shoes have a price tag that say the original full price and then a sticker above that says what amount they are discounted, 30%, 40%, 50%, etc. There's a sign in the clearance section that displays what all the discounted prices would be off of any price shoe, so customers don't even need to do math. This confuses the hell out of people. The other day a woman came up to the front counter with $70 shoes that were discounted 70% and asked what price they would be. We'll call her Susan. Me. Those would be $21. Susan. No, they'd be free. 70% off of $70. Me. No, they'd be $21. Doing the math out loud. Because 10% off of $70 is $7 off, and multiplying that by 7 gets. Susan. They're 70% off, not 10%. Me. I know, I'm just explaining the math. Susan. They're free. At this point I grabbed a calculator and showed her all the steps to get to $21. She didn't seem convinced and ended up not buying the shoes. You want straight A's? Okay, Mom, I'll get straight A's. This particular incident was back in 8th grade, but my mom's always been competitive about scholastic achievement. I wasn't bad at academics, but saved my competitive streak for more important things like kicking my friends' asses at Street Fighter. Anyway, the morning of the math test, I felt absolutely unwell. The conversation went something like this. Mom, I don't feel good. I need to stay home. No. She's from India, they straight up don't accommodate sick days. Hopefully it's changed since. I tried to explain America is more chill about these things, but somehow it didn't work. So I sped through the test, handed it in, ran out the door, with permission, and vomited in the first toilet I got to. Yeah, definitely going home for the day. As a result of subpar performance on said test, my grade for the quarter was an A. Cue Mom. An A is the same as a B+. You need to do better. I was pretty salty about the situation with the test, so like any 11-yo with cable and my own room, I binge-watched Toonami instead of paying attention to my math homework for the rest of that semester. Shockingly, at the end of it, I had a B+. Mom wasn't pleased. Some kind of generic yelling later, I came back with, "It's the same as an A. Welcome to the commutative property, Mom." Lowest of the low. So, there's one thing besides Karens we all have to deal with in the retail industry that's just as annoying: shoplifters. This is the story of the ones that made me the most angry. One day at large name electronics store, I'm at the front, in mobile, when I notice 2 women walk in pushing huge strollers with one hand and baby carriers in the other. Whoa, I thought, that's a pretty absurd amount of babies. Until I noticed the baby carriers were empty and the babies were in the strollers. Alright, they just didn't want to leave big posh baby carrier seat things in the car. It's kind of a rough neighborhood, I get it. 5 minutes later, on the walkie, I hear Dee, the asset protection woman. She's gotten a weird vibe from these ladies who have since moved on to the video game section. Dee, God rest her soul, was a brick wall of a woman, about 50 years old and way beyond giving a single solitary. She's the security guard to end all security guards, and her spidey sense had 100% accuracy. So, naturally, on a slow day I and all the other bored associates make rounds in video games because it's fun to mess with the shrink watches. This is when I'm treated to the sight of the women with their babies now in the carriers, but a large distinctly baby-shaped lump is still in each stroller underneath a blanket. A more tenured manager and I go to confront them, and the manager pulls the blanket off of about $300 worth of video games that these women were trying to steal. But that's not the worst part. I glance down at the babies in their carriers, because they're shifting uncomfortably, and I see that distinctive Xbox One green underneath the baby. That's right, they were trying to hide more stolen games underneath their children. We recovered all the games and told them to never return. Personally, I think the cops and CPS should have been called. How much are you short, dear? For context, I work in a cafe, and this story happened earlier today. We often have a lot of kids come in as we do a mini hot chocolate for pretty cheap. Today, a little girl came in and asked for one of these hot chocolates. The girl was maybe 3 or 4, presumably had been sent by her parents with some change so they didn't have to bother to get up. Except, when I went to take her change she didn't have enough. As these drinks are really cheap, she was only about 20p short. Just as I was about to give it to her for free. Hey, if the bosses can't see you, right? An elderly woman in the queue behind her asked, "How much are you short, dear?" and proceeded to pay for the little girl's drink, plus cream. Around Christmas time, customers are generally really rude, and this exchange actually made my day, as silly as that may sound, so I told the old woman that her drink was on the house. She broke into the biggest smile, thanked me profusely, and put the money she was handing over to me to pay for her own drink in the tips jar. Sometimes I love working in retail. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to give a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Have a good one.